Well, judging by the thumbnail, I have lost my mind. I got my shovel. I got a call Friday afternoon, late. A friend of the family, an acquaintance, he calls me up and he says, hey, I got this old four-wheeler. I hate to scrap it. If you can do anything with it, you can have it. You got to come get it now. Well, I'm a sucker for punishment. So I went and grabbed a little trailer and we went for a short little ride. It wasn't that far from me. It was about 2 miles from me. And there it is. I mean, wow, this is just the ugliest thing. So Arctic Cat 300. Have I ever seen one before? No. Have I ever fixed one before? No. And I'm still probably not going to check that box. We are going to try. So let's have some fun. I'm not going to probably follow any of the rules. I'm just going to have a little fun with this and see what happens. I'll take you through the process of at least checking out a machine. I don't think we're going to, looking at it, I don't think we're going to get it running. I don't know anything about it. I haven't pulled it over. The owner said he's never heard it run. It was delivered to him as a project and he never messed with it. He put it in the back barn and got in the further barn, and it was way out in the pasture when I got it. If you can tell from the mildew and the mold that's on it, it has been sitting somewhere for a very, very long time. I think this is probably a 96 maybe. I can't find a date on it quickly. I did look around. The frame is broken. It could be repairable, but I'm not going to invest any time or effort in it. We're just going to learn from it. I was investigating it a little bit right down here. I don't know if this is a common point or not. This is, again, the first one I've ever seen. Frame is broke right through here, which is really sad. I noticed when I was putting my table underneath it that this bottom skid plate was hanging really low on this side, and it kept catching my little table, and that's why, because the frame's broke. So what do? Well, what we do is we're going to probably have a little fun with it today, and then we're going to probably part it out. And that is a great option. It's, you know, it's not for everybody. Y'all know that I have an eBay store, and I don't like killing good machines, but with a broken frame, the chances of finding another frame are very thin or slim. Who's going to want a 30-year-old machine that's not necessarily a collectible? Now, here's a couple of things. Some of y'all know, you know it, but you don't. You don't know what I'm about to tell you. Did you know that this is really not an Arctic Cat? It's not. It's an Arctic Cat from about here forward. From here back, it's a Suzuki. I know, you're scratching your head. Well, let's take a quick gander at this Suzuki 250 and look at that motor placement. And you look at the rear independent suspension that's underneath the back of that machine. If you're interested, that is a 96 Quad Runner 250 Suzuki. And if we look over here, same motor placement, same motor, different exhaust shield, same independent rear suspension. Yeah, see the similarities? Lots of similarities. Tons of similarities. All the way down to where the oil inspection cover is on this one. You know, I talked to a couple people just in passing. It's got the same decompression lever in the front. There are some things that are really cool about this. Once you kind of get an understanding of what they did. So my understanding from just looking at this machine, Arctic Cat bought these chassis probably, and engines and rear axles and front suspension as a roller. But one of the neat things about it, one of the things I'm having a problem, ooh, that's stiff steering. Yeah, okay, no fast corner in there. Check this out. Arctic Cat put disc brakes on the front of theirs, where the Suzuki has drum brakes, and they're notoriously bad. I've got a video coming up about those. I got a fix for you. You're gonna really need to see that if you've got the Suzuki version of this. So Arctic Cat takes the base model Suzuki and then they make it their own, if you will. This machine has an oil cooler on it, which the Suzuki does not. So it just kind of, they're just kind of up the game. Maybe they found some flaws in the Suzuki and so they wanted to improve it. The first thing I noticed was this gas tank. The controls, forward to lever high and low, are not in the top of the tank housing like they are on the Suzuki. This is just a cover, the tank is underneath it. But what I did notice, and this could really be important, is this machine does not have the fuel pump up here and all of the extra hoses and routing and vacuum lines that run it that the Suzuki does. This is a gravity feed system, which for this horsepower of what this machine is rated for, that will be plenty, more than enough. A gravity fed system could probably operate up to, and I'm just guessing here, I don't know, but you don't really need to get into fuel pumps and things like that until you're pushing probably 20-30 horsepower. That's when you start needing a little bit more oomph than a larger fuel line and a gravity fed system. If you look at your 400cc machines in a modern machine, even if it's not fuel injected, you'll start seeing electric pumps coming in or vacuum operated pumps coming into your modern machines for that reason. So let's have some fun. Let's not take this too serious. This is never, I'm not gonna sell this machine. It will be parted out. And basically what this consists of is engine and drivetrain. So if you need some axles or a hub or the disc brakes off the front of this or the rear suspension, that's probably all in very good operating condition. As for the motor's condition, I don't know, but your rolling parts, your shocks, your hubs, your axles, things of that nature are pretty indestructible. So if you need some of those, check out the eBay store. Go to eBay, type in MRC builds, and check out what I got. You'll be surprised. There's a lot of stuff on there. I am putting about 100 items a month, maybe a little bit more, and it's just a whole bunch of stuff from the 80s. It's ATV related, collectibles, odds and ends. You may even find a gift for your wife on there. So y'all check that out. Let's get started. Let's see what we got into. First, you brought home a piece of junk. You don't want to tell your wife. You should tell your wife. Just tell her you're just letting a friend keep it for a couple of days. You do you. You tell your wife whatever you want. I told my wife I was bringing one home, and she said okay. So we're all good there. So that moving, what do we have? Well, we know we've got a Suzuki motor. It's 4-stroke. First thing you want to do is you want to check the oil. You want to check for varmints. Now, air boxes, #1 place for a varmint. I've had this machine since Friday, so yesterday. It's been sitting in the trailer. I bounced it down the road. I was not real ginger with it with the tractor. Y'all saw that. If there's a varmint in here, it's probably has left, is what we're going to hope for. I got the shovel right there, so know where your shovel is. And let's see what we got here. I'm interested. Even though I'm not, y'all know I'm a Honda guy, I still learn things from these other manufacturers, how they put things together. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not so good. You know, that's all part of it. They all have their good parts and bad parts. Even my beloved Honda has an Achilles heel certain years. So I'm just going to be real ginger. I don't know where anything is. I don't know where the seat latch is. I don't know anything. So if you don't know anything, we're in the same camp. If you do know, well, then you're one up on the rest of us. Wow, I can't believe I didn't blow off. I did not know that wasn't latched. All right, we've got a seat pan. So here's an opportunity to, we can talk about like parting a machine out. What has value and what doesn't? What's worth your time? If you have a project that possibly you're not going to be able to fix, or maybe it's not worth fixing. Let's say this thing's got a blowed up engine. Is it worth fixing? No, not even worth your time, really. But there are value in everything. And so this has got a plastic pan on the seat. It has a nice John Deere sticker on the bottom of it, so that's always good. The latches are rotted out. Look at this. And I can feel this seat weighs about 7 or 8 pounds. It's full of water. See these pins? They're rotted out. They were metal. Does the seat have any value now? Only if you could replace those pins. What was the giveaway for me was that this was a Suzuki, was the airbox. Because it has this funky airbox in it. That's a snorkel thingy, which is not on the Suzuki. There's your latch. All right, so the first thing you're going to want to do when you tackle any piece of equipment is you want to check the oil first and foremost. Then you want to clear the carburetor. You want to be sure that air can get into that engine before you spin it over. Now, sometimes I get ahead of myself. Everybody wants to spin it over, and I get that. But when that piston goes down, it's going to suck air. And if this is full of rat droppings and other things that we're not going to talk about, it's going to suck that in there. And now you've just created another problem for you to fix. So we are not going to tear this thing completely apart. This is a will it run? So we're fixing to get our air box opened up here. This is where your biggest risk is for varmints. And that can be any kind of varmint. It could just be, you know, bugs and stuff. So, you know, tread lightly, very lightly. See, now there was a roach in there. Now in Florida, those are like our you know, state animal, and so we covet our roaches. But I don't see anything else. There's a lot of grass in there. We've had a mouse in here for sure. That's always risky from the standpoint of other machines that aren't mouse infested when you bring one in that is. All right, so here's our airbox canister. I don't see any sheddings is what I'm looking for, but the air filter is just deteriorated. Look, there's a mouse nest right there. That's all mouse. They took the air filter and made a little home out of it, which is very common. Now, one of the interesting things that I didn't know this about Suzuki is there's actually a screen right here just inside this tube. There's a metal screen, and I'm going to give them some credit here. That's very smart. That keeps the mice from going in there and using the bathroom. Let's be, you know, nice here. Inside the carburetor, mouse urine and aluminum creates an electrolysis that will actually eat the aluminum, believe it or not. I've seen carburetors come in where the bottom part, where the mouse has come in and kind of built a home and urinated and so forth, where it's actually pitted and eaten through the aluminum. So you don't want to put, there's a little bit of grass, I'll show you too. There's grass in here. So we've had a mouse in here at some point in time, but there's a metal screen just inside this box that would keep any mouse and debris, tricycle guy, from going up into our carburetor. So that is really cool that they thought to do that. I'm happy that, because more than likely that carburetor's probably clean. We've got this air box, so what would happen is a mouse would find its way in here. It would travel down through this box, into this cavity, and then it would set up residence here and hotel the mouse. So our seat has no value. Somebody might need an airbox lid or an airbox. These pieces clean up really well. You could take this assembly out and sell it as an assembly. You'd be surprised. You could probably get 20 or 30 bucks for that. Is it worth your time? Maybe. If it's in my way as we dig through this, then it's already out and it's easily parted out with. Now, this machine, all the electronics are on this side of the machine. None of these bolts have heads. They're all rusted off, so we're probably going to get a little rough here. Any of you Arctic Cat Suzuki purists, just look the other way. There you go. All right, so we got more remnants of mices here. A footwell, you know, I mean, again, you've got all this rotted out hardware. Is it worth fixing? Definitely not. Is it worth selling? Maybe. All right, so we've got a plug here. It's not connected. I always look for plugs that are no longer put together. It's always a sign that, one, somebody's been in here, or maybe neglect. That plug should be plugged in, and it could be a simple fix. I have had a couple machines where it's just a wiring issue, that something's come unplugged and the machine got parked, and it just sat there, and you plug it back in, and ta-da, it works. Okay, so without wasting too much of your nor my time, let's pull this thing over and see if it's locked up. So I'm just going to do a real slow, real gradual pull and see if the motor spins over. I don't know. It's not in gear, so it's in neutral. So it should spin over pretty easily. Okay, no, that's not happening. So we got a decompression system. If you're unsure what a decompression system is, you just saw me move that lever over, and what that does is that causes the valve to hang open, and it lets the engine cycle without building compression. And so as that piston goes up and down, until it ignites, it just lets air move in and out without any resistance, which makes it easier to start by hand. If you've got a machine that has a decompression system, use it. That's what it's for. It's not there for an emergency. It's for hand starting. It takes a lot of the load off of your rope and starting mechanism. It makes it easier on you. And so that's what the decompression system is. And this one you flip back. The Honda one you flip up. You know, it's the same concept. But that's what it's for. Use it. It's a good system. So more than likely our piston is stuck. But I went ahead and released the detent on the decompression system. Let's see what happens. Nope, now don't force it. So that didn't help. Don't yank on this cord. Yeah, you might get lucky and you might loosen that piston up, but more than likely you'll break that rope. Remember, that rope is old and decrepit. You don't want to break that rope because then you're really stuck. So the next thing you want to do on an engine, let's not call it locked up, but we can certainly say that it's stuck. We cannot turn it over. This thing is really, you know, batting 1,000 and not working. Let's see what else we got here. We've got, looks like maybe somebody had a battery tender on here. This plug looks like a battery tender, and it definitely goes to this right here. So more than likely, at some point in time, somebody cared enough for this to put a battery tender on it. Let's take our spark plug boot off, take our spark plug out. Now that's one of the things, if it didn't have had a spark plug in it, I wouldn't have brought it home. A cylinder that's been left out in the elements with no spark plug in it, you were just asking to be completely ruined. I've only had a few that could ever come back from that. This will give us some idea of well, when the last time it ran. If it has a really old looking spark plug in it, you know, spark plugs they're kind of dated as they change. You pull something out, it's got an old Champion in it or something. Does it have a modern plug? Okay, an old Champion, look at that. So we got an old Champion here. That's not the plug it was supposed to have. It's dirty, but I think it'd work. All right, so now what we're going to want to do, now we've taken the restriction or the compression completely away. Let's see if we can turn our motor over now. No, we still cannot. So while we try other things, let's put some PB Blaster down our spark plug hole. All right, now I put a lot in there because I'm afraid it's going to take a lot. So let's let that do what it does. And we're not out of the woods yet. So what do we got? Well, we got an engine that's locked up. We can't turn it over. Well, if we can't turn it over, then we can't verify spark or anything else. So a next thing you could do, if you had somebody with you, you could pull it and then drop it into gear. If it's manual, you could dump the clutch. It's a little harsh, but you know, we're not really trying to save this thing. So if you're by yourself, get out in the open here. Let's see if we can put it in gear. I don't know how to do that. That is not a gear selector there. We got a brake on that side. This is a high speed and a low speed. Or no. What do we got? I don't know. Somebody help me. That sounded like a gear. All right, we found a gear. All right. Well, that was promising, actually, because I think the motor moved a little bit. We may have found something here. So, y'all watch that spark plug hole. I'm going to spin this tire. If the piston moves, then it's going to squirt all that fluid out and probably get on the floor in my camera. So we're just spinning the clutch. We are not spinning the piston.
15 minutes later.
Our transmission works. High and low works. Reverse seems to work, as in you can roll it backwards. We can get back to neutral each time we fiddle with it. So now we're going to have to dig a little deeper. If we had another person here to pull us with a rope, we could kind of force it to do that. I don't think this thing has gears. It's forward and reverse, high and low. It's weird. You know, if you don't have any experience with one, we don't have a key either. Just realize that. Interesting. That could be problematic. So we're gonna have to hotwire it. Yay! There's really no point in hotwiring it until we can get it to turn over. So I'm gonna go and find some tools, and we're gonna try to probably turn it over if we can get access to the crank bolt. Let's see. We got a lot of water coming out of this. That's a very bad sign. It's very possible that this motor's took on water and it's locked up because of that reason and not just from lack of use. Alright, it's took on a lot of water. Yeah, that's bad. Very, very, very bad. But this starter assembly is probably worth about 40 bucks. Needs a gasket. But that's $30 or $40 right there. You know, it's the low-hanging fruit. A lot of guys, and I hate to say it, but a lot of people will, they'll go into a scrap yard and they'll grab this, the gas tank, and the seat, and they're done. We've talked about it in other videos. 2 seconds, you can pull it off, and you know, this with a busted frame, it's really not worth more than scrap weight unless you are willing to take the time to take it apart. If you need this, eBay, look me up. Okay, so we did all of this, which really wasn't that much, so we could get to that crank bolt, and so we can turn it that way. That size, it's the red size. If you go to your toolbox and you need to turn the crank bolt, it's the red size. All right, so we've got our PB blaster sitting there on top of our piston doing its magic stuff, and you know, we've dug a little further. I took the wheel off just to give me a little more, you know, room to fight in here. Transmission works good. I ended up having to put it in gear to break these lug nuts loose. So again, if you end up having to part a machine out, engine, transmission, transfer case, this is all one unit. And I guess that's why Arctic Cat really liked the design. It was really simple, plug and play. Be careful, don't use an impact gun, use a ratchet. You got to be able to feel it. You know, you got to feel that piston start to move. I've had them where they would move one direction but not the other, and you want to kind of work it. What I'll try to do is break it loose if we can, and then kind of work it up and work it down, and let that PB blaster get moved around in there. You know, because everywhere you put it, you know, it's going to start doing its thing. So let's see what we got here. Shouldn't take too much if we're lucky, or we're not going to be lucky. Oh, yep. Round 2. Fight. Okay, so as you saw, I'm glad the camera was on. That piston moved just a little bit. You might even have been able to hear it. My mount for my camera is not working today, guys. All right, so you saw that I was able to turn it just a little bit, and so that's what you want. So what we're going to do is I'm going to continue to turn it that way and see if we can make a full revolution all the way, which means that that piston would go all the way up and then come all the way down. So let's see what we got. It's still not easy. Ooh. That was my ratchet slipping, or an elbow, I'm not sure. Okay, so our piston's going down. I can tell that there's a hard spot above it. It's got a little resistance. See how it's pulling back? Oh, not good, not good. All right, let's go back up with it. We're hitting a hard spot. Oh, nope. That is terrible. That is a solid bump. Now you can put too much pressure on here and loosen that bolt up, and then you're kind of stuck. You really can't get that kind of tension again. So I'm going to try to fight it clockwise, so the bolt is always in the tightened direction and won't back itself out. I'm going to put a little bit more muscle on here and see what we got. That is a hard stop. Now, that sounds hard enough to be a valve. I don't want to force it. So, gonna do here, we're gonna try something else. We are hitting a solid clunk. I'm guessing at this point that a valve has dropped and is hung up. It's a 4-stroke engine, timing chain's working, everything's moving in there, but when it comes around, it's going kunk and it's hitting something. We go the other direction, it comes around kunk, it hits something else. So, I'm gonna pull the valve cover, inspection covers here. There's one here and one at the top. We're gonna pull those and we're gonna see if we can get the valves to move. We can visually inspect them. Are they moving? Can we loosen them up? Can we bump them a little bit and kind of get them freed up? If so, we may be back in the game. So let me see what I can come up with. All right, so we're gonna take off these valve cap inspection covers, I guess you call them. Valve cover, probably. And what we're going to want to verify, now the bottom one, I just broke it loose and it's puking oil. So that's kind of a good sign, I guess. It means that the head is getting, feel the oil in it. The head is getting oil, or at least has been sitting in oil, it hadn't been completely dry. So what I want to do is we're going to spin the engine over using our crank bolt down here, and we're going to want to watch our valve. See this valve? This is going to be our intake valve. It's on the carburetor side. The other one would be our exhaust valve. We're going to want to see if it moves as the engine turns. Okay, now I'm turning the engine. You see that valve moving in there? So that's good. That means that valve is going in and out like it's supposed to. So now we need to check the same thing. I'm probably not going to be able to put the camera down there and show you, but I'm going to stick my finger there on top of the valve just like this, but on the exhaust side. And it's not turning, but it did. The piston came up and hit something, so I'm going to put the piston back away from when I felt it come up and hit something. Now I've rolled the engine back down and pushed the piston away. You probably can't see too well, but this valve did not move. Now the valve rocker is loose and you hear it tapping. Hear that tapping? But that doesn't mean that the valve is free. All right, well, you can't win them all. It seems that the culprit here, the rings are shot, the cylinder's shot, but the timing chain is kinked. And so I'll show it to you again if you didn't catch it in the earlier video. The timing chain's got this kink in it, and I think that was binding up, and that's why it would only go around part way. Of course, this was binding up down in the bottom of the motor, and there was no way I could have got to it without taking the whole top off of it. And then, of course, in doing so, we see that the rings are completely wiped out on our piston. Our piston's all scored up. It's not had a happy life. It's not good. Would it have run? Maybe. Probably not. When your rings aren't proud off of your piston, you don't have any compression. No compression, it's not going to run. I did get the starter to engage on this. The button worked on this. I had a jump box to it. Y'all know how I do it. Again, the starter would go engage. It would only go to that partial halfway. The timing chain would bind and it would stop. So what do you do when you find yourself in a situation like this? Well, this was for fun. I declared that when we started, that we were just going to have some fun today and see what we could make happen, and we did that, and that was fun. But now, as you see, some of it's been taken off since the camera was on. Now I'm going to part out what's usable. You know, wiring harness, airbox. You know, there's a lot of parts here that people look for, especially on these older machines, that they've lost the parts along the way, or maybe they found one in a little better condition than this, that they just need a part to really kind of finish theirs out. So Facebook marketplaces, your groups, if you're new to ATVs, go and you're on the Facebook, and it took me a long, I've only been on Facebook a couple of years, and I mean like 2. It took me a long time to get on board, but there's some good folks out there. Join a group that specializes in the vehicle that you are working on. So if you're working on a Arctic Cat, you can find an Arctic Cat group. We've learned that this also shares a ton of parts with the Suzuki Quad Runner. It wouldn't hurt to check out some Quad Runner groups. You can find message boards on just regular internet, Facebook, I'm sure Reddit, and some of those other things out there, they have them too. But those are some easy ones to go and join a group and get in there and kind of get to know the people, and you'll be surprised at what you'll pick up. Tips and look, you know, where to find good parts or good people to deal with. You know, that's how we were able to fix the LT like we did. I joined an LT group. I got in there and just got to kind of meet the people and started with the admins. And kind of work your way down, and they'll kind of learn, you'll kind of learn who you can trust and who you can't, because, you know, unfortunately, the world we live in. But it's a good way to start out on the right step. I'm going to be taking these parts and put on eBay. Y'all know I've opened an eBay store just recently. Been doing very well with that. 3-wheeler parts, 4-wheeler parts, all brands, whatever I have is what we're getting rid of. Just kind of cleaning the shop out. I'm tired of tripping over stuff. I've said that many times before, but I can't see throwing away really good parts. The airbox on this is perfect. Somebody needs that little plastic plunger for either a Suzuki or an Arctic Cat for their airbox. Now, you know, this is how you kind of pay it forward. Is you give a good price, you get a good part, and everybody wins on that kind of deal. So if you're looking for some Arctic Cat / Suzuki Quad Runner parts, check out my eBay store. It's MRC Builds, just like the YouTube channel. Thanks for watching. I'm sorry we couldn't get it running. It really, I'm always on the fence. Do I post the video or not? It's the real world. You can't fix them all, or it's going to take more than just, you know, some you know, backyard mechanics. It's going to take some hard parts. This needs a top end and a timing chain, and it would probably run. Unfortunately, we've got 4 flat tires, a broken frame, just, you know, the keys out of it. Is it worth fixing? No, it's not. You would probably put $500-600 real dollars in it, and it would only be worth about $400 when you got done with it. So we're gonna let this one go out to pasture. We'll take off the good parts that we can. I may pull the shocks and the wheels, or the wheels look really good. They're just dirty. If you need a set of Arctic Cat wheels, let me know. But I think we'll pull a few more parts off of it, and then we'll go recycle it and let it go on to the ATV yard in the sky. So thanks again for watching. Again, I wish I could save them all, but you can't. But it's always worth a try. So thanks for watching. Y'all take care. Have a great evening.